The snow fell in heavy, wet flakes, cloaking the Bitterroot Mountains in a silence so deep it felt like the world was holding its breath. In the heart of the Montana wilderness, where pines stood like sentinels and the wind whispered secrets through their needles, a scream shattered the stillness. It wasn't human, not entirely. It was raw, guttural, a sound that clawed at the soul. Ranger Ellie Harper froze mid-step on her patrol, her breath clouding in the frigid air. Her gloved hand tightened around the radio clipped to her belt, but she didn't call for help, not yet. She knew these woods better than her own scars, and something about that cry told her to move fast. Ellie's boots crunched through the fresh powder as she sprinted toward the sound, her flashlight beam slicing through the dusk. The Bitterroot Ranger Station was 10 miles behind her, a lonely outpost of cedar logs and flickering lanterns. But out here, she was alone, save for the ghosts of her past that never seemed to leave. The cry came again, closer now, and with it, a new sound, a low, rumbling growl that sent a shiver down her spine. She pushed through a thicket of snow-laden branches, her heart pounding, and stumbled into a clearing. There, in the fading light, was a sight that stopped her cold. A girl, no older than 12, lay crumpled in the snow, her jacket torn, blood seeping through the fabric at her side. Her face was pale, lips trembling, her dark hair matted with frost. And crouched over her, its amber eyes glowing like twin lanterns, was a bobcat. Its tufted ears twitched, and its lips curled back to reveal sharp teeth. The animal wasn't attacking. It was dragging the girl by her sleeve, pulling her toward a faint trail that led back toward the ranger station. Ellie's hand went to the tranq gun at her hip, but she hesitated. The bobcat's eyes met hers, and there was something in them. Not menace, but urgency. It let go of the girl's sleeve, gave a low, insistent yowl, and took a step back, as if to say, "Help her." Ellie's breath caught. She'd seen bobcats before, wary, elusive creatures that vanished like smoke. But this one was different. It wasn't running. It was pleading. "Hey kid," Ellie said softly, kneeling beside the girl, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her veins. "Can you hear me? I'm Ellie, I'm a ranger. You're gonna be okay." The girl's eyelids fluttered, but she didn't respond. Her breathing was shallow, her skin clammy. Ellie unzipped the girl's jacket, revealing a deep gash across her ribs, likely from a fall or an animal's claw, though the bobcat's paws were clean of blood. Ellie pressed a gloved hand against the wound, her mind racing. Hypothermia was setting in, and the nearest hospital was a 2-hour drive through snow-choked roads. The ranger station had a med kit, but it was basic. She needed help, and she needed it now. The bobcat paced a few feet away, its tail flicking, eyes never leaving the girl. Ellie radioed the station. "This is Harper. I've got an injured kid, maybe 12, female, severe laceration, and possible hypothermia. I'm at the North Clearing, mile marker 7. Send Doc Wheeler, fast." The radio crackled. "Copy, Harper. Wheeler's on his way. ETA 30 minutes. Can you stabilize?" "I'll try," Ellie muttered, but her voice wavered. Stabilizing a kid this bad off in sub-zero temperatures wasn't just a challenge. It was a gamble with death. She glanced at the bobcat, still watching, its breath steaming in the cold. "What's your deal?" she whispered, half to herself. The animal didn't move, but its presence felt like a weight, a silent command to act. Ellie scooped the girl into her arms, her own muscles straining under the weight. The kid was small, but the snow made every step a battle. The bobcat followed, keeping its distance but matching her pace, its paws silent on the frozen ground. Ellie's mind churned as she trudged toward the station. Who was this girl? How had she ended up out here, bleeding and alone? And why was this bobcat acting like it had a mission? The ranger station was a squat, cedar-planked building nestled against a ridge, its chimney puffing smoke into the twilight. By the time Ellie staggered through the door, the girl's lips were blue and her pulse was thready. Ellie laid her on a cot near the wood stove, her hands shaking as she grabbed the medkit. The Bobcat had stopped at the edge of the clearing, its silhouette barely visible through the frosted window. But Ellie could feel its gaze, like a thread tying her to the wilderness outside. She worked quickly, cleaning the wound and wrapping it with gauze, but the girl needed more than she could give. Ellie's own past clawed at her, a memory of another child, another failure. Her daughter, Lily, had been 9 when the car accident took her 6 years ago. Ellie had been driving, distracted by a fight with her husband, and the guilt had carved a hollow place in her that no amount of ranger work could fill. She pushed the memory down, focusing on the girl's shallow breaths. "Stay with me," she whispered. "You're not alone." The door burst open, letting in a blast of cold air, and Dr. Amos Wheeler, the town's grizzled physician. His white hair was dusted with snow, and his weathered face was set in a scowl. "What the hell happened out there, Harper?" he barked, dropping his medical bag beside the cot. "Found her in the north clearing," Ellie said, stepping back to give him room. "She was bleeding, hypothermic. A bobcat was, I don't know, guarding her, dragging her toward the station." Amos raised an eyebrow, his hands already moving to check the girl's vitals. "A bobcat? You've been out in the cold too long, Harper. They don't do that." "I know what I saw," Ellie snapped, her voice sharper than she meant. She crossed her arms, watching as Amos worked. He was good, gruff, but good. He'd patched up half the town over the years, from broken bones to frostbite, but he didn't trust easily, especially not Ellie, who'd come to Bitterroot 3 years ago, running from her past and her pain. Amos grunted, hooking the girl to a portable IV. "She's stable, but barely. Needs a hospital. That wound's deep. Looks like a bear swipe, not a fall. You sure about that bobcat?" Ellie nodded, her eyes flicking to the window. The bobcat was still there, a shadow in the snow, its eyes glinting. It wasn't attacking. It was trying to save her. Amos snorted. "You sound like old Mabel, spinning yarns about spirit animals. Focus, Harper. We need to get this kid to Saint Mary's before she crashes." Ellie's jaw tightened. Mabel was the town's eccentric, an elderly woman who lived at the edge of the forest and claimed the animals spoke to her. Ellie had dismissed her stories as folklore, but now, with the bobcat's eyes burning into her, she wasn't so sure. The girl's name was Clara, they learned later, when a missing persons report came over the radio. Clara Thompson, 12, from Missoula, last seen hiking with her father 2 days ago. Search parties had been combing the mountains, but a sudden blizzard had forced them back. Her father was still missing, presumed dead. Ellie's stomach twisted at the thought. Another child, another loss. She pushed it away, focusing on Clara's pale face as Amos prepped her for transport. The road to St. Mary's was treacherous, the snow piling higher by the hour. Ellie drove the station's old Jeep, Amos in the back with Clara, monitoring her vitals. The bobcat followed, a ghostly figure darting through the trees alongside the road. Ellie caught glimpses of it in the headlights, its movements fluid and deliberate. "You see that?" she asked, her voice low. Amos didn't look up. "See what? Keep your eyes on the road, Harper." But Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that the bobcat was more than an animal. It was a guide, a protector, maybe even a reckoning. Her mind drifted to Mabel's stories, the ones she'd laughed off. Tales of animals carrying the souls of the lost, leading the living to safety or to truth. Ellie didn't believe in that stuff. She believed in maps, radios, and the weight of her own mistakes. But tonight, the lines between reality and myth were blurring. At St. Mary's, Clara was rushed into surgery. Ellie sat in the waiting room, her hands still stained with the girl's blood, her mind replaying the Bobcat's eyes. Amos joined her, his scowl softer now. "She's got a chance," he said, "thanks to you, and maybe that damn cat." Ellie didn't respond. She was thinking of Lily, of the night she'd failed her. She'd sworn never to let another child slip through her hands, but Clara's survival felt like a debt she couldn't pay. Not yet. Over the next week, Clara recovered slowly, her condition stabilizing, but her spirit broken. She spoke little, her eyes haunted by whatever had happened in the mountains. Her father's body was found, mauled by a bear, confirming Amos's suspicions about the wound. But Clara's story was stranger. She claimed the Bobcat had found her after the attack, licking her wounds and dragging her through the snow until Ellie arrived. The doctors called it delirium, a side effect of hypothermia. Ellie wasn't so sure. She visited Clara daily, bringing small gifts, a book, a candy bar, trying to coax a smile. Clara's mother, a weary woman named Sarah, was grateful but distant, consumed by grief for her husband. Ellie saw her own pain reflected in Sarah's eyes, and it cut deeper than she expected. One evening, Ellie drove to Mabel's cabin, a ramshackle place at the forest's edge, surrounded by carvings of animals. Mabel was outside, feeding a crow, her white hair glowing in the moonlight. "Heard about your bobcat," she said without preamble, her voice like gravel. "You think it's just an animal, don't you?" Ellie shifted, uncomfortable. "I don't know what it is, but it saved her." Mabel's eyes gleamed. "Animals see what we don't. That bobcat's got a purpose. Maybe it's here for you too." Ellie scoffed, but the words lingered. That night, she dreamed of Lily, her laughter echoing through a snowy forest, a bobcat leading her toward a light Ellie couldn't reach. The climax came a month later, when Clara was well enough to leave the hospital. Ellie had taken to patrolling the North Clearing, half hoping, half dreading another glimpse of the bobcat. It appeared one dusk, its eyes locking onto hers, and this time, it didn't run. It led her deeper into the forest, to a hidden cave where she found a backpack, Clara's father's. Inside was a journal, its pages filled with confessions. Guilt over a failing marriage, a desperate plan to disappear with Clara to start over. He'd underestimated the wilderness, and it had cost him his life. Ellie brought the journal to Clara, who read it through tears. It wasn't just closure, it was a revelation. Her father had loved her, flawed as he was, and the bobcat had brought them both to the truth. Clara hugged Ellie, the first real connection they'd shared, and Ellie felt something shift inside her, a crack in the wall she'd built around her grief. The bobcat was never seen again, but its presence lingered. Clara went home with her mother, stronger, healing. Ellie stayed in Bitterroot, her patrols now a pilgrimage of sorts, a way to honor the girl she'd saved and the one she'd lost. She visited Mabel often, listening to her stories, no longer dismissing them. The wilderness had changed her, stripped away her armor, and shown her that redemption wasn't a destination, but a journey. Years later, Clara returned to Bitterroot as a young woman, training to become a ranger. She and Ellie stood in the North Clearing, the snow falling softly around them. "I still feel it," Clara said, her voice steady. "That bobcat, it's like it's still watching." Ellie nodded, her eyes on the trees. "Maybe it is," she said, and for the first time in years, she felt whole.